1% to the greenhouse gases
I'm not sure of that.
emissions.
Those figures came from Senator Biazon. I will have to validate these percentages.
But more or less, yeah, what his point was that we were very insignificant in
Yes.
terms of
a small
the,
contributor.
yes, to global warming and greenhouse gases, Mr. President. And yet, what could biofuels do for us? My answer to the good gentleman from Muntinlupa, Mr. President, really would be that a simple 10% blend, for example, of ethanol on gasoline would bring down the carbon monoxide by 30% and the benzene content by 30%. So that is a big deal in terms of cleaning our air and bringing down our greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, Mr. President, B1, which is being implemented now, which is biodiesel 1%, the LTO has come out with a study that all diesel vehicles now, Mr. President, just for the information of the body, has dramatically gone down in terms of pollution content because of the 1% biodiesel blend, which comes from our own very own coconut biodiesel, cocoa diesel. So just and I think the most beautiful or most wonderful idea for biofuels now, Mr. President, is the low cost. Right now, Mr. President, ethanol can be produced at 27 pesos per liter as compared to 55 for gasoline. As a matter of fact, Mr. President, United States and Brazil and Thailand is also proposing, Mr. President, an E85. They're going to upgrade all their cars to flex fuel engines, and they're going to utilize their local ethanol to produce an E85 fuel. And do you know, Mr. President, how much it costs? It only costs 32 pesos per liter, and you can run, Mr. President, your
May I know,
vehicles.
Mr. President, which government agency is mandated under your law to implement the Biofuels Act? Is it DOTC?
It's the DOE, Mr. President.
DOE.
And there's a board. It's called the National Biofuels Board. The problem, and
Has this
I
been
would suggest, yes, Mr. President. Unfortunately, may I make a suggestion to several of our other bills pending here, that when we create a commission or a board, let us not anymore, Mr. President, and that was my mistake,
Put cabinet members.
put cabinet members
Yes.
as officers, because trying to get them to convene is more difficult than trying to get all the cardinals together to elect the Pope.
You're correct.
So it is so difficult, and hopefully we'll be able to correct this in the later date. But Mr. President, I know I'll wrap this up because Senator Legarda has already entered the room, and I know he wants amendments to his PERA bill, and which I'm also a co-author and to support. Mine, Mr. President, is just to share my frustration. First of all, it's a manifestation of support for the Commission, and to share my frustration with the lady and to all my colleagues here on the slow pace, not even the slow pace and the minuscule ideas of our government in terms of coping up with this crisis, fuel crisis. I mentioned earlier to Senator Legarda in a private talk, I said the proposals being given by the DOE are similar to, I call it the Flintstone proposals during Panoni, Fred Flintstones, Mr. President, of the cartoons. In other words, instead of saying we should look at new technologies to be able to bring down to be able to bring our people from one place to another using electric cars, like what they're doing in Puerto Princesa and in Makati, CNG, compressed natural gas for our buses, convert all our jeepneys into CNG jeepneys, compressed natural gas, of which we have a lot of, and similar technologies. They're asking us to walk, they're asking us to ride the bicycle, and they're asking us basically not to move to be able to conserve energy. That's why I call it the Flintstones principle, wherein Fred Flintstone runs his vehicle with his feet. So I think there's several technologies there, Mr. President, that are available to be able to cope up with this oil and food crisis. But we have to be outside the box. We should not bring back medieval techniques and processes to solve this. And that's why I support your commission, I support the Ladies Commission, Mr. President, my colleague, champion for the environment, one that we've been at all with when we were at all with during my stint as a congressman in the House of Representatives.
I thought you were about to say since you were a child. I would have opposed that.
No, Mr. President, just when we were in Congress, we were at all already with this brilliant lady from Antique and Malabon Navotas. Again, thank you very much, Mr. President. I reiterate my support for her measure.
Thank you for your interventions and for your sharing your expertise on biofuels, and we will await your privileged speech on Monday. Thank you.
Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President.
We thank the good senator for the. But I believe. Yes, Senator Madrigal wishes to be recognized.
Thank you.
Senator Madrigal is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a 40-second speech, a sponsorship speech on the anti-child pornography bill of the Committee on Women, Children, and Family Relations. Mr. President, our Constitution expects it of us. Our international covenants expect it of us. Most of all, Mr. President, Filipino children demand it of us. I refer, Mr. President, to Senate Bill 2317, which seeks to punish all who are engaged in child pornography. This bill proposes punishments, indeed a policy, Mr. President. This bill makes no distinctions between private persons or companies, nor does it reserve protection to parents who subject their child and children to the psychological, moral, and physical violations of personhood that child pornography represents. This bill seeks to make state policy the following: whoever you are, whatever your judicial personality may be, even if you're a parent or guardian, you should be prosecuted and punished if you engage in the production and dissemination of child pornography. May I say, Mr. President, that the broad scope of the proposed law is deservedly so. There are sins that cry out to heaven for vengeance. There are modern-day examples of moral turpitude and degradation that cannot be given the benefit of the doubt. The Philippines is now regarded as the second largest producer of child pornographic materials in the world. We must make our laws contain penalties that will inspire our authorities to take a giant leap in enforcement in order to curtail, if not totally eliminate, this multi-billion-dollar industry. Mr. President, there are activities that are beyond the criminal. Let us not compound such crimes by keeping them beyond the scope of our statute books. I ask our colleagues from both the minority and majority to support this bill. The interests of young Filipino children shall be well served by your unwavering support of this bill. Now that this bill is before this chamber, I ask your support one more time so that this bill may become a law and that child pornography may not be one of the largest exports of the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, with the permission of our colleagues, we will treat the manifestation of Senator Madrigal as a motion to transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special order. Senate Bill 2317. This is the act prohibiting child pornography and imposing penalties for the commission thereof and for other purposes, Mr. President. This is Committee Report number 55.
Objection. Hearing none, motion is approved.
And may we request the Secretariat to reflect the same in the journal, Mr. President.
So directed.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we have a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Before we suspend
yes.
the session, may I also, the Chair would like to greet our friends from Bataan, Congressman Garcia, and the rest of my kababayans from Bataan.
That's correct, Mr. President. Governor Ted Garcia, Representative Abet Garcia of Bataan, together with their barangay captains, Mr. President. For the information.
Welcome to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we have a minute suspension?
Session suspended.